It's important to take a risk, especially when you're young. That's something I've come to realize. And I am still fairly young, but the reason I realize it is because I have been fortunate enough to be surrounded by a lot of people who have more life experience than myself, you know? And a lot of times, what older people tell me is they wish that they took more risk when they were younger, when they were my age, because now they're not able to. One time I was working for a guy. It was pretty ironic because I stopped working for him shortly after because he kind of inspired me to quit. He said to me, "Every man has two lives, and the second one starts when he realizes that he only has one." I feel like a lot of times in life we try to play it too safe. And if you really think about it, safety is just an illusion. How safe are we in whatever scenario? You know, maybe you get a really good job, good benefits, everything. But what if the company goes under? You know? There's just so many things. What if the company gets sold to someone else and that other person isn't obligated to let you keep your job? You know? So for me, it's been important to try to figure out something on my own where I don't have to depend on someone else. And in doing that, there's a lot of stress because when you're when you're not starting off with much, you're pretty much always all in. It's not like you start off with a big investment and then you could use a little bit for this, a little bit for that. Like, no, you're pretty much all in everything you do, you know? And you realize, like, I've heard this from one of my older friends. You don't make it as far as you make it just to make it as far as you make it. And I'm at this crossroad where I realize it'd be a shame to just give up now and play it safe. Because 20 years from now, I'll still be fairly young, but I'll never be as young as I am right now. I'll never have the opportunities that I have right now. I'll never be able to. At the age I am right now, I could make a really bad investment and mess up the next 10 years of my life and still have enough time to bounce back. You know what I'm saying? I know a lot of guys that are stuck in a cycle already. It's really interesting seeing it, you know, when you're young, you're with your boys, you're all hanging out, and then as time goes on, you know, you start seeing them a little less, and then when you do see them, you start realizing, like, yo, we're young men now. And then you see the different sides of that. You see the people who don't do anything with their lives, and then you see the other side of the people who went the very traditional route, and, you know, now they got a suit job or something like that, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, everyone's path is different, and I respect all of them, but I just realized that mine is somewhere in between, you know? I'm not throwing my life away by any means, but because of the road I'm on, I can't show everything that I've done so far. I don't have much to show for it, you know? I have the knowledge, the resources, connections, and things like that I can do something with, but just as of where I am right now, I don't have a bunch of money in the bank. I don't have a lot of assets to show all that I do and all that I have, and etc. But I'm also not a suit, you know. I'm not in in a corporate office doing all this and that, working for someone else. And I think that's the big part about it. And honestly, when I say this isn't to say like, hey, if you go work for someone, like you're a bad person or you're doing something wrong. I think that's how the world goes around. I will eventually need people to work for me. Like that's just a part of the game. But I think for some people, you just need something that gives you a real sense of security. It's interesting. One of my friends is going through something with their life right now, and they're a bit disgruntled with their family for how they reacted to a situation, or I should say lack thereof action to a situation. And it was so interesting to me because they were upset that when they called on their family, they weren't necessarily there in the capacity that they would have wanted them to be. And I realized, like, oh man, I'm at a stage in my life where I'm not calling on to people, but people are calling on to me. And I don't even have it all figured out yet, And that is truly what motivates me to do it, to take the risk. Sometimes the risk seems selfish, and that's another hard thing. People don't get it, especially if you're an entrepreneur or if you're chasing a dream. When people have to show up for a job or they get fired, then they feel like they have to do it. So when you're chasing your dream and no one's making your schedule but you, when you're strict on that schedule, people think you're selfish. They're like, you want to do this. You don't have to do it. You're not going to get fired if you don't show up. And it's just different perspective, And that's something that I've battled in the past. But I now see myself at a place where I'm past that. It's funny, I actually started making these videos 9 months ago. And looking back, these videos weren't where they needed to be, not because of the video quality or anything like that, but just because of me. I wasn't where I needed to be. Now I will sit here and tell you that there are times I feel lost, but I know that there's a path ahead of me. I just have to continue to follow it. And I think at the time when I first tried to do this, I didn't put any of those videos out, but the first time I tried to do this, I was lost and I didn't want anyone to know. But now I see the importance in understanding that sometimes you feel lost on the journey. It's like being in the woods. You could be following a path and you could be going the right way and you could still be like, I don't know, I feel like I saw this tree before. And maybe you saw a tree just like it, but you're still on the right path. But you sit there and you feel like, I am I going in circles? Where am I going? I just also feel like right now I'm about to walk out into the field. I'm stuck in the trees, but I'm about to walk out into the field. I feel it. And it's because I now understand the importance of taking risk. I hope this advice from a young man helps you. I hope you go out there and take the risk that you need to take. It'll be worth it. Right now, the hardest thing in my life is realizing that life is a game. We are playing a game. It's on creative mode, and whether you like it or not, you're a part of this game. But I guess I start realizing I love that I'm able to play the game, but I think I've been falling into a sort of game that I'm not interested in playing. And what I mean by that is, the saying, keeping up with the Joneses. Comparing yourself to everyone around you, trying to keep up with appearances. Oh, this is trendy now, I want to do this. Oh, these people will like me if I do this. It's really the validation that you get from other people. And I say this by understanding that I was falling into the game very deeply. I feel like I would still say I'm a very self-conscious person, and I don't mean that negatively. I mean I'm just very self-aware, sometimes subconscious about self, but I used to really just care about what people were thinking, and I would be doing things for the sake of people. For example, like I'd want to look like I was doing better than I was because of the perception of people, rather than not having people look at me at all and just know that I was doing okay. And I've learned a lot throughout getting out of that mindset. And that's how I realized, like, this is all just a game. There's plenty of ways to play it, and you don't have to play it that way. I used to think people who just wanted to get some land, have some animals, you know what I'm saying, just go live out on their farm and raise their family were like weird, you know, like why would you not want that? Why would you not want to be able to go out, go to the bars, go to the clubs, do this and that? And then you realize, like, man, these things are not really for me. And when I say not for me, not just like, oh, I don't like it, but like within my soul and spirit, you realize like you don't align with these things. I used to love going to the bars, you know, hanging out, doing whatever, but then you start to realize that like that's really like not getting you anywhere further in life. And you start to realize like all the nights you missed out on it, where you said, no, I'm not gonna go, you really didn't miss out on much. You know, there's gonna be a point in time where you're like, you have FOMO, oh, I gotta be at every single thing that's going on. But then there's also going to be a point in time where you stop going to things and then you start asking, hey, how was the other night? And then you start hearing horror stories. Oh, it sucked, we didn't get to do this stupid thing happened, my car got broken into, like just a bunch of stuff. And you realize like, man, like, why are we doing this? You know, like, is it even fun? And the crazy thing about the game is most people don't even know that they're playing it. And that's the scariest part about it. I didn't realize I was playing it until I started losing. And then I said, why am I losing? What is there to be losing? And I realized I'm losing at this game that I do not have to be playing. Even though you might not know you're playing the game, once you are aware of it, it then becomes a choice. How are you going to play the game? You know? Are you going to play it? What are you after? Are you after something outward, or are you after something within? Finding the things within is a part of the game that almost gets looked at weird, you know? If you're a person who's spiritual and blah blah blah, like there's almost like an archetype of person where it's like we make fun of this person, you know? And I'll even say that like I am still kind of a part of that boat of the people making fun of this person, depending on how it is, you know? I used to be a person who was very spiritual and prayed to the universe. Now I don't do that. Now I give it all to God, and that's made all the difference. But in that, everything had to be broken to be built back up. Had to be humbled, had to be put back into a place to understand, like, without God, I can't do this. Without God, I won't do this. So think about how you want to play the game. The game can be really fun if you make it really fun. The game doesn't have to be a torturous experience. I'm making the game fun. Understand if you're chasing gold coins, literally or figuratively. Understand if you're just trying to play the game to beat it. But at the end of it all, even though you are playing the game, you can still learn to enjoy the game and realize that it is a gift to be able to play once you're aware of it. And some people watching this video might be like, what are you talking about, dude? But the people who are aware of what I'm talking about understand it very deeply, and it resonates with them very deeply. And those who don't understand it just don't understand it. But it feels nice to be out here. It's a blessing to be able to be out here. Sometimes we really underestimate our freedom. Sometimes we underestimate our physical freedom and don't even realize the capacity of our mental freedom. I hope you enjoy these stories and lessons and conversations from a young man. I love you guys. Peace out.